Okay, so let's just take up our usual standing posture with the knees slightly bent, backs nice and straight, arms just gently hang down by the sides of the body. Tailbone sinks down a little bit, top of the head lifts up. And then we bring our mind into the belly. So imagine going through the belly button and into the very center of your body. So right in the very core behind the belly button, there's an area called Dan Tien. Translates as altar or field, that kind of idea, sort of energy field, altar like a sort of central place of a church. So it's this very kind of sacred idea of the very core of you, right inside. And we're just going to make our turn from there. So just a very simple turn from the core of your body, look back over your shoulders, see how your back feels. Do the same on the other side, gentle turn, stretch the back, see how it feels. Do that a couple of times. So we don't just leap into the exercise when it's cold, we just try and feel our way into the exercise. And then we can slowly begin to turn this area of the belly from side to side. We leave the shoulders relaxed, the elbows relaxed, the hands open, and just let the hands tap wherever they fall onto the body. So sometimes people keep their elbows very sort of stiff, and you'll see people do this exercise in this very kind of robotic way where they don't move their waists and they just do their arms like this, but actually want to be really loose at the elbow and really turning from the waist. So we're trying to get this whole sort of central core moving from side to side. Okay, just to go back to the very beginning, these classes are healing classes. And so I expect that some people come to these classes on my YouTube and so forth, who are in quite a compromised situation. And you might look at this opening exercise and just think to yourself, oh, I'm not in a position to do any exercise at all at the moment. Well, that's fine. If you just skip 15 minutes forward through the exercises, that's where the healing part begins. So that's how these classes work. But also there's this idea that if you just start in a very, very gentle way, that you can slowly build up your exercises. And so it's about starting from a very basic point. So the first question is, can you stand? So if you can stand, how long can you stand for? Those are the two sort of starting points to get this exercise going. But clearly you could do this exercise sitting on a stool as well. So we're going to talk about lower body strength in a little while. But first of all, just imagine this exercise can be done sitting down on a stool. Can't be done lying down as such. So if one was in a really compromised situation and not even able to stand or sit, what would you do then? Well, there are fabulous experiments that they do in universities. There's one that particularly comes to mind, which is a study from quite a while ago. But they basically asked, 100 people to go to lift a weight with their right arm every day, 3 times a day. And they asked the next 100 people to sit on the couch and imagine lifting a weight every day, 3 times a day. And then they asked 100 people to be there, control, and do nothing at all. And when they came back to do the measurements, obviously the people who had been doing nothing at all hadn't changed at all. But the people who had been doing the sitting on the couch and working the muscle, their muscles had grown, by, let's say, 80%. And that the neurons that connect all the muscles together had also grown and wired together, they call it. And then the people who'd been going to the gym, their muscles had only grown by kind of, 83% or something like that, or 85%. And of course, the neurons in their brain had also wired in exactly the same way. So what do we learn from this? Do we learn from this that we're not supposed to go to the gym? We can just do all our work sitting on the couch? Well, I don't know. I'm going to think it's good to get out and socialize and to be out in the world and things like that. But it's quite clear that the mind has a very powerful ability to help your body. And then just put into a little bracket after that, your mind also has a very powerful ability to hurt your body. So just think on that for a moment. So here we are, we're doing our exercise. And if you can stand, you do it like this. If you can sit, you can just sit and do a version of this exercise. If you can only lie down, why not lie down and think about being able to do the exercise? Imagine your body working and managing this exercise. And so I'm just going to tell you about a story I heard from China. It was a gentleman who had been working in a factory, and some enormous piece of equipment had hit him, and he'd basically been paralyzed. And the doctor said, I'm afraid this gentleman will be paraplegic for the rest of his life, won't be able to move his legs and arms, will just be, sitting in a bed. And so that's where the poor guy ended up. After all his wounds had healed, he was just left at home in bed. And his friends who had been practicing Qigong with him in the past came to visit him, and they said, why don't you try doing Qigong? And he said, well, I can't move my body. And they said, well, why don't you try doing Qigong in your head? And he said, okay. So he started doing lift Qi up and pour Qi down, the exercise we do on a Tuesday currently. And he lay in bed and he imagined him stretching his arms above his head and pushing his arms in front of his shoulder and left and right. And he imagined all these exercises, and he just decided, well, I'll do it for a week. And so he did it every day, 2 or 3 times a day for a week, just spending quiet time and imagining his body doing the exercises. And then suddenly one morning he woke up and thought, wow, I can feel my fingertips. And he looked down and he was able to move his fingertips. And after that, he said to his family, I don't want to see anybody, just deliver me 3 meals a day. I don't want to speak to anybody. I'm going to be doing Qigong every day, all day. And so he would just sit in bed and read and work his way, through. In fact, actually what his friends did for him was that they did drawings of all the postures and they put them around the wall to encourage him so that he could look at the various different exercises and follow them. And so after a few days, his arms were working. After a few months, he was able to sit up in bed. And after a couple more months, he was able to stand up. And that was it. He was no longer paraplegic. He had healed his body. So that's quite an inspiring story and gives you the idea about the power of Qi. So if you're lying down, you can do these exercises with us. Okay, so let's slow this exercise down a little bit. Make it a bit bigger. So what you do is look back over your shoulder and really get the neck involved. So we're going very slowly now and stretching the body out. So this class today, being that we are in January, is going to be, I hesitate to say, to remind some of the British people, about 30 years, almost 30 years ago to the day, 1993, we had a Prime Minister called John Major. John Major launched a campaign which was called Back to Basics. And so 30 years to the day almost, I'm launching a campaign called Back to Basics Qigong today. So let's just have a look at all the basics. Here we are on this exercise. We're just stretching out and slowly turning our spine. We've got our hands open, so they're tapping onto the sides of the body. We've got our hands tapping on the small of the back, just hitting a point here called Ming Men. And we're going to feel Ming Men. We're going to get in touch with Ming Men a little bit later for particular reasons. But you are naturally stimulating Ming Men now just by tapping onto this area. You're stimulating a matching point on the tummy called Du Qi. So we're opening up energy gates. As your hands tap onto the side of the body, you're opening up a point on your palm called Lao Gung. Because you've bent your knees, you're squeezing the ball of your foot against the ground, and that is opening up an acupuncture point called Yong Quan. And because we're pushing our head up into the blue sky, we're opening an acupuncture point on the head called Bai Hui. So this exercise gets qi flowing, gets energy moving, opens up all the major gateways on the body, and gets us in contact with our qi inside our body, but also our qi around the body. Okay, so let's just slow the exercise down. So in Qigong, there's never a need to quickly stop. You can always stop very slowly, gradually, bit by bit, as if you're some sort of toy winding down to a stop. The next exercise is about bringing balance to our body. So you might feel a bit sort of wobbly, a bit lightheaded from the last exercise. Plant the hands in the earth and lift qi up. So we slowly lift up a ball of energy. Draw it up above the head. And you imagine this point on top of the head by way. You can pour the qi down through this point, almost like a funnel on top of your head, accepting the energy down. Let the energy flow down through the center of your brain. Let the energy flow down through your throat. Move the qi down through your chest to the center of your chest. Move the qi down into the center of the belly, this area we were talking about, dantian. And then release the hands and imagine the qi flows into the legs, down to the knees, down to the ankles, down to the feet. Very good. So this pouring qi is a really crucial exercise. We'll look at it in a bit more depth later. So gather, lift up. It also is one of the first Qigong first aid exercises. So what do I mean by that? Sometimes when you do an exercise, you'll suddenly get a flow of qi going through your body that can really make you feel dizzy. And it's funny, it doesn't necessarily come in your first class. It might come in your 15th class. It may never happen to you at all. But you might just be carrying on your Qigong, having a very relaxed day, and then suddenly something bizarre happens to you. You suddenly feel incredibly wobbly. You feel shaky, or you feel hot, you feel cold. And you think, oh, what's going on? And actually, it's qi moving around in your body. So sometimes when we haven't practiced for a while, or when we're new to it, or when we're doing a new exercise, we can set off a flow of qi through the body that can leave us feeling really kind of wobbly, really unstable. And this exercise is about bringing you back to the very core of your belly and then making sure that you're connected. So very often we hear people say, I don't feel very grounded. I feel, oh, my head's up in the air. I don't feel grounded. We don't need to be grounded because it's as bad being too grounded and not enough in the air as it is being all in the air and not enough in the ground. We need to be centered. We need to be centered in the belly, just in the core of us, in this lower energy field. Okay, so we're going to do some simple forward and back bends just to stretch the spine out. So we've rotated our spine now, going from side to side. Now we're going to lengthen our spine. Take the hands up into the blue sky and stretch up. And then you imagine gluing your ears and arms together. Okay, so I always make that mistake, and I might say gluing the ears and arms together, and I imagine people sort of squeezing their ears and their arms to touch each other. What I actually mean is kind of coordinating the ears and arms. So keep this space here, keep your shoulders relaxed. You don't have to kind of press your arms against the side of your head. So that's my fault there. And then what we do is we try and just tip the nape of the neck over on its own. So just work on the nape of the neck and really bend that over. When the arms are about parallel with the floor, that's when we can start to work on the upper back. We can start to work into the middle back. We can start to lower into the lower back. Keep your knees soft, so they don't have to be straight at the moment. You can let the knees be completely relaxed. The other thing is to take the pressure off the back of your neck. Very often we kind of lift our head up to see what's going on, but really release the back of the neck and then hang. So we've got the whole body relaxed like this. We've got the tummy relaxed like this. Body just gently hanging. Now we imagine our foot split into 4 pieces. The first is a line between our toes. The last one is a line between our heels, and the other are 2 lines in between. So first of all, that line between our toes, gently stretch down towards that line. And then release. The next line is drawn between the roots of our toes, where the toes come out of the foot. Extend gently down towards that line. And release. Imagine a line drawn between your insteps. Gently stretch towards that line. And release.
and eventually a line drawn between your heels. Obviously just getting deeper and deeper with each bend. And release. Let the arms hang down. In order to stand up straight, we use the tailbone as a little sort of tool, as it were. So you point the tailbone up behind you. You feel your legs straighten. If you could point the tailbone up into the blue sky behind. And then you swing the tailbone towards the front of the body and imagine stacking each vertebra up one by one. And 2/3 of the way up, you join the arms and the ears once again and gently bring up the arms and the ears as one piece. And you can feel when you join your arms and ears together, that gives you an extra kind of stretch, an extra weight to lift up. Okay, good. So when we're up to the vertical, as it were, then we're just going to do some backward bends. Let the hips and knees gently drift forward and you lean back. Stretch up and then gently lean back. It's just going back as far as you wish. Stretch up, gently lean back. Stretch up, gently lean back. Okay, hands up into the blue sky. Now we're going to do some side bends. So just let the left hand drift down. Let the right hand just sort of curl gently over towards the left side. Same on the other side. Let the right hand go down. And let the left hand just gently follow over towards the right side. Go down on the left. And go down on the right. Great, so that's the complete set. We're just going to run through another 3 rotations of the whole thing. Okay, hands up in the blue sky. So this idea of arms and ears coordinated. Let the arms and ears go over. And what you're doing is working on the nape of the neck here. And then let the upper back bend. Let the middle back bend. Let the lower back bend. Let the body settle down. Just go down as far as you feel comfortable. Knees are nice and soft at this stage. Back of the neck is relaxed. We're just letting the body hang and relax here. So it doesn't matter how far you go. You just bend over to wherever your body will naturally take you. There's no point in pushing yourself too hard. Gently extend towards the toes and release. Gently extend towards the roots of the toes and release. Gently extend towards the insteps and release. Gently extend towards the heels. Nice deep bend. And release, and let the body hang. Lift the tailbone up behind, push the tailbone to the front, roll the spine up, arms and ears come up as one piece, stretch up to the blue sky. Okay, then we do our backward bends. So we lean back, straight back, and up. Sometimes I do a little bit of a side bend with this as well. I sort of lean back and go slightly off to one side and then come up. And then go back and go off to the other side and come up. And then just go straight back again. So I do one straight, one either side, and one straight. And it just gets a little bit of extra work on the sort of sides. Sometimes it's an area which people get sciatica in, so it's quite useful to use that. And these side bends help for that as well. Okay, so side bend, left hand goes down, let the right side of the body gently open up. You can feel the whole right of the body stretching right up. Down on the left, sorry, down on the right, open up the left side of the body. Down on the left. Let the right side of the body open. And then down on the right, opening up the left side of the body. Great, stretch up into the blue sky. So now then, the only adjustment we can make is making the legs straight when we do this exercise, which stretches our hamstrings. So try doing it with straight legs. And we can always bend your knees if you want to, but just tipping over the head and the arms and the ears. Legs stay as straight as they can. Now roll into the upper back. Now roll into the middle back. Now roll into the lower back. Let the body hang down. Let the legs stay as straight as they can. So when we're in this posture here, it just helps us to develop or open up our hamstrings, up the back of the leg. So you could just shift the weight very gently forward to your toes and you'll feel that stretch go a little bit more strongly. So just keep the legs as straight as possible. Let the body just hang for a moment or two, and then we'll begin our stretches. So the first one takes us down towards our toes, and then release. In line with the roots of our toes, and release. Working towards the insteps, and release. Working towards the heels, nice deep bend. Release and relax, let the body hang. This little movement up of the tailbone, legs feel very straight. Push the tailbone to the front of the body, start building the spine up, joining the arms and the ears. We draw those up as one piece, stretching gently up into the blue sky. And this bending backward session, so the first time I just go straight back and up. And the second time I just bend gently to one side and back. And this is a personal preference. Other side and up, and then I go straight back again. So if you ever wonder what I'm just doing that because I prefer it myself. You can just go straight back and forwards. It doesn't make any difference. And then let's do the side bends. Okay, left side. So there's a tiny bit of a leaning backwards in this as well. It's almost like you're stretching towards the back of your left knee. Down the right. So it's not directly down the side. It's kind of down the side and a tiny backward lean as well. Back towards the back of the right knee. Down on the left. See if you can open up the whole right side of the body by stretching your fingertips up. Down on the right. Stretch the left. Up, up, up. Good. And then just bring both hands up to join. So you've got the whole process to do one more time. Okay, so straight legs if possible. Stretching up into the blue sky. Tipping over the head, the arms, the ears. Work into the upper back, work into the middle back, work into the lower back, and let the body hang and relax. Back of the neck relaxes. Body hangs and relaxes here. Okay, so first extension gently towards the toes. And release. In line with the roots of our toes. And release. Working towards our insteps. And release. Working towards the heels. Nice deep bend. Deep as you wish to go. And then release. Let the body hang and relax. Lift the tailbone up behind. Push the tailbone to the front of the body. Roll the spine up. Arms and ears come up as one piece. Draw hands up into the blue sky. Stretch. Let the knees and hips drift forward as you lean back. Stretching up. Gently back. Up. And back. Up. And back. Stretch up into the blue sky. Let the left hand curl gently down. Open up the right side of the body. Right hand curls down. Open up the left hand side of the body. Down on the left. Open up the right side. And down on the right. Let the left side of the body open up. Good. Stretch the hands up into the blue sky. And then we let the hands drift down the sides. Gather chi. Put the hands in the air. Imagine lifting energy up. Draw this energy up above the head, over the crown of the head, and then releasing the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists, and the hands. The chi pours down through by way, deep into the center of our brain, down through the center of our neck, deep into the center of our chest,
down center of the chest, of the belly, deep into the center of the belly. And then release the hands down through the core of our legs, back into the earth, a perfect circuit. Let's begin again. Lift chi up. And pour chi down. Draw the chi down through the body, moving the energy deep into the belly. Let the chi flow through the hips and down the legs, down the feet, back into the earth. Gather again. So I generally suggest 3 times with this exercise. But if you find that you're still feeling dizzy, and sometimes that kind of forward bending of the pike, can really, really send you dizzy, or standing up slightly too quickly can make you really dizzy. So if that's the case, do this more. I suggest 3 times, but if you want to do it 10 or 12 times, no problem. So you can gently gather one more time and then put the hands onto the belly. So imagine pouring chi down through the body, guiding this energy down into the center, down to the deep into the belly, and then let the hands settle on the tummy, however they naturally wish to. Okay, so back to basics. Yes, this is our restart. What do we need to know? Perhaps we need to know about chi. We don't really recognize that energy in the West. In the East, they've known about it for 5,000 years, 10,000, who knows how many thousand. But just an energy that flows inside the body. It's the reason that all the sort of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein story about, putting electricity through a body doesn't work, as we know, and how, these experiments about how to start a whole new planet. They fill a sphere with oxygen and nitrogen and things like that, and then send electricity through it, and you can't create life, and nobody knows why, because they're missing the idea of chi. Chi is the missing element that animates life. And so the chi inside of us, this energy that we can't measure, is what we're working with today in our Qigong. Okay, so we have this wonderful energy that flows around our body. It flows in channels. So each of the major organs is a kind of reservoir of energy. But also where we have our hands, that's the main reservoir of energy in our entire body. So we're just leaving our hands here because when you have your hands on your tummy, it tends to draw your attention to the tummy. And so when the mind feels the hands on the belly, we can start to think about the space behind the hands, deep inside. And when we start to think about it, the mind helps to gather this energy in the belly as well. So our intention is one of the important aspects of Qigong. The guy who, lying in bed, used his mind to heal his body. That's because the mind can move chi around the body. So when we whack our knee against something, we instinctively rub it furiously. And what we're doing is we're attracting chi to heal the area. So we're kind of imagining our mind in the belly, and that's attracting chi deep into the center of the belly. This is where we want to hold it. So this is the major reservoir. It doesn't really relate to anything in Western anatomy as such. It's just an area of high concentration behind the belly button. Matching on the other side of that, if we go all around the waist, there's a point on the small of our back called Ming Men. And this is a pretty crucial point. It comes with the name. If you translate Ming Men, that basically translates as the gate of destiny or the gate of life. So you can tell it's quite an important thing when it's got a title like that. It basically sits between L3 and L4 on your spine. And it's directly opposite the belly button. So we have this lovely sort of axis of energy through the body, with the very core of it being lower dantian in the center from all directions. That's why we have our hands here, because we're just allowing the energy to gather here. It has a matching point behind the breastbone. Underneath the arm, there's a point called Dabao, and on the front we have Tanzhong. And deep in the core here is sort of nestling, I think, just sort of just behind and slightly below the heart, and slightly above the stomach. The area for middle dantian is, it sits geographically behind the breastbone and from the side of the body directly in. And so it's right there in the core of your body. We also have a similar energy field in the center of our brain. So you have these three energy fields. And the idea of our standing posture is that if we're kind of leaning forwards, then clearly the three energy fields can't be aligned. If we're sort of leaning backwards, clearly the three energy fields can't be aligned. So what we need to do is to get ourselves standing as straight as possible. So when you stand up straight and you lift your head up, you've actually put a perfect alignment through the body, through the middle of the lower dantian, middle of the middle dantian, middle of the upper dantian. And so again, when we stand, sometimes I see my students stand and they let their head sort of droop forward. And again, you've lost the alignment of the standing posture. So we try and keep this nice straight posture. When we sink down into our knees, and believe you me, there's some very sort of extreme forms of Qigong where you really go into an incredibly deep, low stance. And sometimes in a very wide kind of tiger stance, you go down, or horse riding stance, and you stand like this. And the purpose of this is to generate a flow of qi through the lower body, is to really force the energy down. For our healing purposes, we don't need to be as deep as that. We just need to have our knees bent. Because as you bend the knees and as you drop the tailbone down, then the qi naturally flows down. So what this does is that it generates the movement of heart qi downwards in the body towards the belly, towards lower dantian, and also importantly for the heart, down towards the kidneys. So we have this idea that we're sitting. And so I often use my dining room chairs because that's the idea of sitting, is to try and get this idea that you're almost like sort of sitting on a qi chair. So you can imagine if you're in this posture here, if you keep going down, eventually you'll be sitting on a straight back dinner chair, as it were, like that. And so what we're doing is mimicking that idea, tailbone sitting down, spine nice and long, chin tucked in. And then if you took it to its extreme, it would be just sitting straight down on a chair. Okay, so we're trying to get that nice sort of straight back. The reason that we do that is where the qi gains its best flow through your body. So if you lock your knees back, qi stops flowing. It doesn't go through the joint as easily. So we relax the knees forwards, the energy is flowing much better in the legs. The same is true of the spine. We can make tiny little refinements of the spine. The tiny refinement of the spine is just to move the tailbone a little bit forward. Okay, so normally as we stand, very often we stick our bums out and our tailbone sort of points almost upwards. But what we're trying to do here is to tuck the tailbone in a little bit. And the way we can do that is imagining the tailbone moves slightly forwards and the lower back, this point I was talking about, Ming Men, goes backwards. So it's almost like tailbone going this way, lower back going that way, and the back straightens out. And you can put your hands on your tummy. You can take your tailbone right up, so you point it way up into the sky behind you, and then you can swing it all the way to the front, and you can feel your lower back change as you almost curl your tailbone up to lift it up towards your head. So what we're going to do is just stand and just put our hands on the lower back, just touching each other. Now swing your tailbone to the front and try and lift your tailbone up so that almost imagine touching yourself on the nose. And now you can see what's happened to the hands. There's a big space between them. And then when you swing the tailbone to the back and lift it up, you can feel the hands push towards each other. So swing the tailbone forwards and feel the space opening on the lower back. Swing the tailbone backwards and feel the space closing. So you're quite literally able to open and close your lower back with your tailbone. Okay, so now we're going to stand in our normal posture. We're going to let our knees bend a little bit. We're just going to tuck our tailbone a tiny bit forward, maybe a centimeter forwards. So we're not in this kind of posture where everything's kind of hunched up and we've got the tailbone right up in front, that kind of idea. We're just moving the tailbone a little bit forward, sitting the tailbone down towards the ground. And what happens there is that straightens out the lumbar curve. It makes your lower back straight, or much straighter than it would normally be. You have a cervical curve at the top of the spine as well. And so what happens there is that if you tuck your chin in, then that makes it a bit straighter, but now you're staring at the ground. So what we really want to do is to tuck the chin backwards a bit, suck the chin in towards the spine. And it's only a tiny movement, but at the same time, we lift the top of the head up to the blue sky. So this tiny movement of the chin moving backwards and the top of the head lifting upwards, this little sort of tuck just means that the spine is now as straight as it possibly can be at the cervical part. So now we've straightened out the top. The main part of the spine is pretty straight. Tucking the tailbone forward. Now we've straightened out the lower bit of the spine. The spine is as straight as it's ever likely to be, because of course our spines are quite curvy. And that's what we have as our standing posture. Knees bent, tailbone dropping down, spine nice and straight, top of the head pushing up, hands just sitting on the belly, attracting qi deep inside. So all of this is designed to get the best flow of qi in your body. What are the pitfalls? Standing here for 20 minutes, sometimes you feel like your feet are on fire and you think, oh, I can't stand it anymore. Or sometimes you get that pins and needles feeling into your feet. And that's just because the qi is not flowing well enough in the lower foot. And so all you can do is persevere. Okay, so let's talk about perseverance. One of the key aspects to healing oneself is willpower, determination to heal oneself. So we've heard about the story of the guy who wanted to heal himself from paraplegia. He was determined to do it. He decided to make it his job again. So rather than going to the factory at 9 o'clock in the morning and clocking on and leaving the factory at 5 o'clock at night and clocking off, he decided to clock onto his Qigong at 9 o'clock in the morning and finish his Qigong at 5 o'clock at night, having done a full day of Qigong. And very soon he'd healed himself. And so people who want to heal themselves have to take on this commitment. One of our teachers who teaches in London, she once said to me, the way I healed myself, she healed herself from MS. The way I healed myself was to start work at 9 o'clock. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to do an hour of exercise, then I'm going to do an hour of sitting meditation, then I'm going to do an hour of, lift you up and put you down, and then I'm going to do an hour of La Chi exercise. And that was it, her daily routine. And it wasn't all just standing exercise. She did some physical stuff and then some sitting, some lying down, whatever it was. She, did different types of Qigong because she wasn't just wanting to stand for 4 hours solidly. But on the other hand, she did do it every morning. And very soon she changed everything about her illness. One day perhaps she'll tell you that story herself. So we have this idea of dedication to the cause, of really getting on with it. So when I first started doing standing Qigong with Master Lam, 100 million years ago, my feet were a huge problem. And so I realized that if I just made the most tiny movement in my feet, that I could just sort of encourage the qi to flow a little bit more. And then after a month or so of going to his classes, I suddenly, someone else said, my feet are so sore, what am I supposed to do? And I suddenly thought, oh yes, I had that problem, but I just didn't realize that it had gone away. So you just persevere with it and it just goes away. So that's the soles of the feet. But what about the legs? Okay, so Master Lam used to have us standing in these very, very low postures for a long, long time. And what starts to happen is you stand there and suddenly you start to feel your thighs beginning to shake, and your calves beginning to shake, and your whole body starts to vibrate. You think, goodness, what's going on here? And the muscles are just complaining because there's not enough qi flowing through the lower body. So we have to open the lower body to allow the qi to flow properly. So if you're someone who has cold feet in bed, and I'm sure your partner will have remarked upon it, or if you're someone who needs to have socks and a hot water bottle every night or a hot blanket or something, that's because the qi is not flowing very well in your body. So we have to do our standing and really low, sinking into the knees as much as you can, standing, to really generate this movement of qi. And what will happen is your legs will start to shake. You think, there it is. And then just ignore it. Just let them shake. It doesn't matter. So perhaps sometimes when I was doing my standing with Master Lam, my legs might shake for 15 minutes, just crazy, bouncing around, shaking, shaking, shaking. And then suddenly As soon as it had started, it would suddenly just stop. You think, oh, what happened there? Something changed. And that was it. The chi had changed in my legs. The quality of chi had changed. Something had opened, a blockage had opened, and the chi was flowing a little bit better. And then next week I'd go back and I'd stand there and I'd think, oh, here we go, shaking again. But it only lasts for 10 minutes. And I'd think, oh, that's gone now. And then it would last 5 minutes and then it just disappeared. And so that's about opening the channels in the body. And a sign that the lower body is not connected well enough is this idea of cold feet, sore legs, shaking muscles. This is the foundation posture for healing yourself in Qigong. So we really need the lower body to be open and working. There's only one way for you to do that, and there's not actually, there's quite a few ways for you to do it, but the primary way for you to do it is to stand and let the chi open. You can just imagine the chi flowing down the outside of your legs, flowing up the inside of the legs. With your mind's eye, you keep your knees bent and you imagine the flow of chi. And in fact, actually, you can also do this exercise if you wish. So let's just do this exercise. I don't often do it, but we might just do it today. And if you're someone who has cold feet, or if you're someone who experiences pain in the soles of the foot, wobbly legs, sore legs, then this is a great exercise to get the energy flowing. So we have our hands on the tummy. And what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that we can take the energy of the tummy and almost kind of split it apart as we draw our hands to the side. And then we're going to push our fingers down the outside of the legs. Push quite aggressively, really squeeze against the outside of the leg as you gently bend down, going all the way down, and then draw the fingers over the top of the toes, and then come up the inside of the leg, drawing the chi up, pressing quite solidly, pressing quite hard, up through the groin, back to the belly, and stop. Just put your mind in your belly for a second or two. Let's begin again. Take the energy from the sides, or to the side, should I say. Squeeze your fingers down the outside of the leg, brushing chi down, moving the energy all the way down, draw it across the top of the foot, and then up the inside of the leg, squeezing quite hard, drawing the energy up and pulling the energy up to the belly. Let the hands settle. So you might even feel a bit of some stimulation in your legs as you do that. You can do one leg at a time as well. And so you can take both hands to the left hip, let's say. So draw both hands across to the left hip. And then we have the three kind of middle fingers, as it were, on top of each other. So you have three channels in your legs and you have three fingers. The other little fingers and thumbs don't really matter. We're really pushing down the outside with the three fingers on top of the three fingers, down the outside, over the top, and then draw those three fingers back up the inside of the leg, drawing it all the way back up. And then we're going to do the other side of the body. You don't have to turn, obviously. Across to the other side, push really sternly, not wanting to bruise ourselves, but, good pressure down the outside of the leg, across the top of the foot, draw up the inside of the leg, and bring that back to the center. Do that one more time. Go across to the left side, push the fingers down, over the top, and up the inside. Go across to the right side, push down, squeezing with both hands, pull up, squeezing with both hands, up through the groin, back to the belly. And then perhaps you could finish off by doing the one hand version of it. Out to each side, down, across the top and up, draw up, do the same again, split out to the side, go down, across and up. Very good. So not only are we talking about the muscles and the channels that flow in the legs here, we're also talking about the hip joint as well, talking about the knee joint, talking about the ankle joint. So sore joints, and an awful lot of people seem to be having hip replacements these days. The point about it is that you're moving chi and you're pushing it down through the hip joint here. And so this is very beneficial for the hip joint, very beneficial for the knees, very beneficial ankles, feet, all the way up. But there's another aspect to that as well, which is that you have 3 acupuncture channels running down the outside of the leg and 3 acupuncture channels running up the inside of the leg, including the kidney channel and the liver channel. And so when we draw energy up like this, we're drawing energy up into our organs as well. This is a very beneficial exercise. There's an upper body version of it, but it's less kind of useful, I find. I find the lower body version very, very useful. So one is standing with our knees bent, patiently standing. Sometimes when I was practicing my standing exercise, I used to do set a timer. So I think to myself, 10 minutes, an old egg timer, turn it round, leave it in the kitchen so I couldn't hear it going tick, 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 and driving me mad, but I could hear it kind of brrr. So I just stand there, I think, right, this week, I'm going to stand every night for 10 minutes just before I go to bed. And so I'd stand there and I'd wait, brrr, and off it would go. And I'd think, right, next week, I'm going to stand for 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And eventually my standing practice just improved. And I was able to go to Master Pang's, Master Lam's class and just sort of stand there and think, wow, I remember when I first started, I was unable to do this. So fast forward to 2018, when I went to Hainan Island in China. And there I met an amazing lady who had cured herself of breast cancer, not once, but twice over a 10-year period. And she took her practice to be standing. She knew all of the other Qigong exercises that we do, on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, but for her, standing was the thing. And so she'd get up at 7 o'clock every morning, 6 o'clock every morning, and then she would just stand. And sometimes she'd have her hands in front of her, sometimes she'd have her hands in her belly, sometimes her hands down by her side. Just the hand postures, you can, if you're interested, you can talk to me about them, but hand postures in this case, not particularly important. Perhaps I'll just show you one of them. And it's just standing and gathering a ball as if you're holding the ball right in front of your belly button. Your middle fingers, about a sort of a hand's width in between your hands, and your middle fingers level with the belly button, and you just stand like this. Sometimes this can hurt your back, and a good thing to do is just to make sure you've lifted the center of your chest up when you do it. So we can stand like this, and it just helps us gather more energy. So if I was standing like this, I'd say to you, make sure the tailbone is dropping down, make sure the tailbone's gently forward, nice long spine, chin gently drawn backwards, pushing by way, the top of the head up to the blue sky. Center of the chest gently lifted. Hands just curl gently in front of the belly. They don't have to be miles out. They can be quite close. Body relaxed, knees bent. So there's one more crucial area to a good standing posture, and that lies improbably between the legs. So it's a crowded area, you'd be surprised to hear. Between your genitalia and your anus, there are 3 acupuncture points. As I say, very crowded, but the middle one is the important. So right in the very sort of center between genitalia and anus is a point called Hoi Yin. And they say, lift Hoi Yin up. So that's just sort of a slight tightening. That's tightening in that area, tightening of the buttocks, a lifting of the pelvis floor, pelvic floor, that kind of thing. It's just a tiny movement, a tiny sort of squeeze. And it's not something you have to do the whole way through. We're not talking about so much sort of tension in your body. We're talking about, just a little lift between the legs and just imagining closing that area. It's especially important if you're working with lower body pain, because lower body pain shows that you're losing some of your qi. And there's this idea that qi can flow out through this point, Hoi Yin, between the legs, and we can kind of sort of lose energy. So what we're doing is gently lifting Hoi Yin up, imagining Hoi Yin is closed. And so this central area of the body, Dantian, it feels like when you lift Hoi Yin, you're sort of cradling, holding your qi field, letting everything here stay gently held, as it were, as opposed to not held and able to sort of flow downwards. So people who have kidney issues, it's good to remember to lift Hoi Yin. And we just do it once at the beginning of our practice or once halfway through our practice, just to remind ourselves that we're keeping our qi inside, not losing our energy. So we have this standing posture, knees relaxed, spine long, tailbone drifting downwards, top of the head gently up. What about the shoulders? There's so much tension from the shoulders. So let's just let the hands gently relax, down. Lift the shoulders up to your ears, really squeeze them up to your ears. Gently move them towards the back. Let them sink down a bit. Move forwards, lift the shoulders up, squeeze the shoulders backwards, and let them sink down. Just doing a very simple circle with the shoulders. Gently forwards, lift up, gently backwards, sink down. One more time. Forwards, lift up, backwards, sink down. Do it the other way as well. Gently backwards, lift up, forwards, sink down, back, gather up, forwards, relax down, back, gather up, forwards, sink down. Then just let your shoulders relax. And so with the whole sort of settling down of the body, sometimes it's nice just to lift the shoulders up to your ears and then let them sink down and let the whole body relax down. Let the tailbone sit down, let the knees relax down, whole shoulders relax down. Tailbone gently moving forwards, chin gently moving backwards, center of the chest gently lifted, perhaps the hands curled in front of the tummy. Standing Qigong. Persevering Qigong. The more you persevere, you think to yourself, oh, the pain in my feet is driving me mad. I can't remember, I can't think of anything while that pain's going on. So how do you manage something like that? The pain in my back is so terrible. It's just driving me mad. I can't, concentrate. You have to gently try to move your mind away from the problem. So let's say that you have a pain between your shoulders. You've been standing for your 20, 30, 40 minutes, and you have a pain between your shoulders. What are you going to do with that? Well, as we stand here, I would first of all try and do something to alleviate the pain. So I'd sort of think, what happens if I put my hands down? Pain feels a little bit better. Now I'm going to bring my hands back up again. Yeah, okay. Pain feels a little bit worse. Maybe I should just keep my hands on my tummy for a little while. That seems all right. Pain in the back. Well, maybe I could just try lifting my chest up a little bit. Oh, that feels better. Perhaps I could just try relaxing my shoulders down a little bit. That feels better. Lower body, pain in my legs. I can really feel the shaking. What am I going to do about that? Well, the advice with the shaking or the pain in the legs is always go deeper. And you think, well, that's just crazy. That's going to make it even worse. But we have a natural tendency to gently stand up as we do so. And so what we're trying to do is just sink down the knees just for a second or two, and you find your body will gently raise a little bit more and come back to a sort of acceptable level. So it's almost like pushing it a little bit further past where it wants to go, holding that for a few moments. And then when you go back to where you were before, it doesn't seem to be as bad as it was. It's kind of tricking your body by sort of, not hurting it more, but you know what I mean. So we're just going to like sink a little bit more, sink down a little bit more, try and hold that for a couple of seconds. It's a different posture, so it doesn't feel quite as bad immediately. And then we can just try and straighten up a little bit and think, okay, it doesn't feel so bad. And then from time to time, face facts. You might just have to lift your feet and give them a shake and then come back to doing your posture again, or just stretch your legs out, come back to doing your posture again. Even extreme, you might even just think, oh, I just got to turn my back a couple of times just to get it going and relaxed again. Fine. You have to do whatever makes this posture work for you. From time to time, when I've been standing for a long time, in sort of classes with Chinese teachers or whatever, standing for an hour or two, suddenly I've just thought to myself, oh dear, my back feels like it needs to be stretched out. And so in a very sort of slow, mindful way, I've gone forward into a forward bend and just relax for a couple of seconds and then gently stand up again. And generally speaking, in Chinese teachers' classes, everybody's got their eyes shut anyway, so they don't even notice you do it. But sometimes you just have to release your breath. You just have to release it. There's no point. You get to the threshold where you think, well, look, I'm just going to give this stupid exercise up. You know, Jeremy's a hateful person. He's trying to torture me. I'm just going to leave the class. And then you think to yourself, all right, calm down a second. And let's just see what I can do to relax. Perhaps, okay, I just need to shake my hands or something like that, and then I can start again. And that's it. The point about it is that you take yourself to the very edge of what you can manage, and then do 1 minute more, and then relax or shake or lift your feet or move your legs or whatever. So each time you do it, you just get to the edge and you think, oh, this is enough. I've had it. I can't manage it anymore. And you think, right, I'm going to count to 60 and then I'm going to give up. And you think, okay, 1, 2, 3. And by the time if you get to 60, sometimes you think, oh, that pain's gone away. And do you know why that is? That's because when your mind is focused on the problem, yi dao, qi dao, the mind is there, the energy is flowing there. So a better way to do it is to actually to focus your mind on the problem for a little bit. So you think, oh, my knees are very sore. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bathe my knees in qi. I'm going to send with my mind a beautiful glow of energy into my knees. I'm going to create a sphere of qi inside my kneecap. Just imagine a beautiful ball of energy pulsing inside your kneecap, gently swelling, opening up all the joints, getting everything flowing well, just kind of supporting the joint, a beautiful sort of glowing ball of qi in each knee. You can just imagine it kind of opening up some space. So in Qigong, when we don't have space, it feels like a blockage. It feels like things are stuck. The more room you can create inside, the easier it is for the qi to flow. So now you decide to do some qi therapy on your knees. You bathe your knees in a glowing light of qi. You fill your knees with this beautiful inflatable kind of ball of qi inside each one, inflating inside like a, you know, a life raft or something like that, supporting your knees, filling your knees with energy, with qi, with blood, with fluids that are needed in the kneecap. And then you've given your knees the first aid, and you think, right, okay, I'm going to forget about that now. I'm going to concentrate on my hands just for a moment, and then I'm going to concentrate from my middle fingers through the belly button, deep inside. You think about the belly. You think about lower dantian. You keep your mind there. You relax into the core of your body. And a few minutes later, you'll find that the knees have sorted themselves out. Don't think about them anymore. Move your mind away. Sore back, move your mind away after bathing it in qi. Sore shoulders, sore elbows, sore fingers, bathe them in qi and move away. Problems with your internal organs, sore liver, bathe it in qi, move the mind away. Wobbly legs, feeling weak, flow the qi down the outside, flow the qi up the inside. Imagine that exercise we did, getting the qi to flow easily down to your feet, flow easily up the inside of the legs, back into the lower energy field. Do that a few times. Bathe your legs in qi. Feel the qi go deep into the bones. Feel some space open up in your hips, space open up in your thighs, space open up in your knees, your calves, your ankles, your feet. Whole legs turn into qi legs. Bathe them in qi, and then bring your mind back into the belly, back into lower dantian. Hold the mind there. So there was this lady in Hainan, standing there for 2 hours every morning, 6 until 8 a.m. before breakfast. And then she'd go there and stand 4 until 6 p.m. waiting for dinner. And she would just stand for 2 hours like a rock. She found the second time she went back that it took her 3 weeks for her breast cancer to dissolve. She was no longer in a stress state. She was just in a qi state, just in an open, standing qi posture, not worrying anymore, not stressing, not letting her brain chew over problems, not worrying about the cancer, just knowing that she was able to cure it. She'd done it before already, so that made it doubly easy for her. But it also helps to hear that other people have done it. Thousands and thousands of other people have done it. I don't know, I dare say hundreds of thousands at this stage. Dr. Pang was working for a long time in China, and millions upon millions of people have come from his school. So who knows? It's not just one person who I met managed to do it. It's hundreds of thousands of people who have managed to cure themselves in this way. So if hundreds of thousands of people can do it, so can you. Nothing different between you and them. It's about getting that steady mind state, that determination, that idea that you can choose to change your body with your mind. So we stand in the optimum position, knees bent, tailbone a tiny bit forward, spine long, chin a tiny bit backward. Hoi Yin between the legs, slightly lifted up. Bai Hui, top of the head, pushing up into the blue sky. Qi gathering in the body. Because we have our knees bent, the point on the foot is connected deep into the earth, flowing Qi up your legs. Because we have Bai Hui on the top of the head, pushed up into the blue sky Qi is pouring down into the body. Because we're standing in this standing posture, the whole body is open and dissolved into the Qi field. You're absorbing energy from all around you, but also you can choose to let go of your old problems. Let go of the old issues. Just dissolve into the Qi field for a little while. Finally, when you tuck your tailbone forwards a little bit, as I mentioned, that made the lower back nice and straight. But it also opens up the Mingmen gate, the gate of life. So Qi is flowing in through the lower back, filling Mingmen, this whole area alive with Qi. But also it generates Qi in your kidneys as well. And the kidneys are really the building block of all Qigong. And so as we stand here, Mingmen is absorbing Qi, kidneys are absorbing Qi, this whole area. Because we've just made this tiny little tuck of our tailbone, the whole area starts to absorb Qi much better. Because our hands are on the belly or in front, we're attracting Qi into this area. So the whole core of our body is gathering this amazing energy, this healing foundational Qi, deep in the belly, deep in the kidneys. Your body is healing itself. And because you've kept your mind quiet or occupied, let's say, for a little while, the body has moved into this healing mode. Same as it does when you sleep. It started cleaning cells. It started flowing Qi around the body. It started returning or killing off unwanted cells. It started building brand new cells, perfect cells. So your body cleanses in this posture. Your body recharges in this posture. Let standing Qigong be your daily practice. A quiet mind, balanced on top of this incredible tripod, as it were. This kind of like, I can't think of a better word than plant holder. You can imagine your sort of ornate plant holder with a beautiful plant on top. The beautiful plant is your brain and the plant holder is your body. Anyway, if anybody can come up with a better idea, please. It's on a postcard. So yes, we have this wonderful structure that we make solid and open and flowing and letting the Qi nourish the body. And when we have that, our mind can just be quiet and let the body gently heal. So this posture, we gather vast resources of Qi. Whole body filled with Qi. All functions of the body working well. And all functions of your body returning to perfect working order. When you get the mind out of the way, when you stop the old stories flowing, you can just return the body to perfect working order. Imagine that. Everything working well. Everything working well. Everything healing. Everything flowing. Perfect working body. Well, you've done very well. You've done a lot of healing. The last thing that's important is just to close the body off so we don't lose any of this energy. So let's just do a Zheneng Qigong closing. I mean, the most simple thing is just to put your hands on your body, do a few circles around, and just come to the conclusion that you've finished and you're closed and everything is held inside. But let's do the Zheneng version of it. So we can just bring the hands back onto the belly if they're not already there, and then just close the feet together. So you can just sort of heel toe your feet back until you come back into a standing Zheneng Qigong stance. And then just bring the hands into the prayer position and settle them in front of your heart. So this is how most of the Zheneng Qigong exercises finish. We just take our hands up in front of the face, up over the top of the head, stretch up into the blue sky. And then you can let your knees soften a little bit, let the hands drift down, and then open up little fingers, ring fingers, middle fingers, split the hands apart, out to shoulder height, little scoop of the hands, round to the front. At shoulder height and width, just let the chi flow from your hands, from your middle fingers, deep inside the brain, illuminate your brain with chi. Drifting the elbows, hands come underneath the arms, lightly touch just underneath the armpit, on the sort of center line of the body, just underneath the armpit, sort of level with your breastbone. And you would feel a sort of tender point there. Just imagine you can send energy through this point, Dabao, deep into the center, and that supports the organ function. So when you fill up this middle energy field, you can fill up your lungs and your heart, your spleen, pancreas, your liver, and your kidneys. Abundance of chi for all the major organs, all the minor organs too, all the energy pathways in the body filled with chi. And then just let the hands drift behind you. They just kind of point behind off to the horizon. And then you move the back of the hands forwards until they're kind of in line with the body. And then let them turn over and you can send a wave of chi out into the universe. It's like giving your energy to the world. And then don't forget to bring some back for yourself. So traditionally, it would be left hand first for men, right hand first for ladies, with the other hand covering. But actually, these days, it's whatever works for you, whatever you feel like. And what we're essentially doing here is gathering an enormous ball of chi with our hands and squeezing it straight into the lower dantian. So we squeeze it in through the belly, straight through the belly button, deep into the core of the body, hold the chi deep inside. Feel this energy gathering there, nourishing there, compacting there, holding deep inside your lower energy field. And then we can finish off just by closing some circles, turning some circles around the belly button. So I just let my hands drop down a little bit, and then I go towards the left elbow, up, over the top, and down towards the right toe, moving towards the left and up, over the top and down to the right. So this is the third anti-clockwise circle. And these just help you to gather chi deep into the body. And then I go 3 circles in the opposite direction, towards the right elbow, up, over the top, down towards the left toe. Second circle. This just sends a message to the body. We've finished practicing. We're going to hold all this energy deep inside, keep it safe, keep it stored for when I need it next. And then we just land the hands back on the belly and hold them there. Great. Okay, so as you stand here, a little visualization. Just imagine a chi field around your body, an energy shield around your skin. It just keeps you protected. Deep inside you, a chi being with this lovely outside chi coating, keeping you protected. And then around that, your chi body. So you imagine something that's a meter in front, a meter behind, a meter to the left and right, a meter above and below. You have this beautiful sort of chi bubble in which you exist. It keeps you safe, it protects you, but it also connects you to the outside world. So just see yourself as a being of light inside your shields of chi, safe, happy, every cell in your body working well, all the functions of your body returning to perfect working order, all functions normal, all functions of your body normal. And that's not the old normal, that's the new normal. Back to perfect working order. You can let your hands drift down by the sides. Maybe wiggle the fingers, move the toes a bit, stretch the spine out, move anything in the body that needs moving. You can have a bend and a stretch if you need to. Now, we always finish our Qigong set by saying Hao La. Hao La is Chinese for good already, as in an affirmation that everything is already sorted. Okay, so we put our hands up in the air. I say 1, 2, and then we all say Hao La together. So just raise the hands up. 1, 2. Hao La. 1, 2. Hao La. One more. 1, 2. Hao La. Very good. Okay, so we have a little salute for each other. You just take the right hand and it's just palm facing up, and the left hand palm facing down. Put them on top of each other, sort of gather the fingers together, and then the thumbs go on. Thank you very much. Really nice for you to be here today. I really enjoyed working with you. And this will go online, share it with your friends. And
Thank you.
that's a pleasure. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.